Neal Brown just has that it factor, I believe.
He's bought into the program.
Everybody in the Big 12 is going to know his name, and all the quarterbacks are going to feel his pain.
That underdog mentality's always been big for West Virginia.
We're just heartbroken that we were not good at our jobs.
He is the modern-day Don Nehlen.
Trust the climb.
And now it's time for the Country Roads webcast.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another edition of the Country Roads webcast. This is the Virginia Tech preview edition. Mountaineers going to be facing the number 15 Hokies in Morgantown Saturday at noon. Game's going to be televised on Fox Sports 1, and we're here to preview it, talk about it, give our predictions. But before we get into that, to open things up with my co-host Steven and my co-host Bradley, any final thoughts on the Long Island game, Steven?
No. Like I said, I went back and forth for the next few days following the game, whether, I took it as a positive or a negative. There was, like I said, a lot of pros and a lot of cons in the game that I could have seen West Virginia build upon. But, I think that it's, like I said before, I think it's massive to shut out any team in college football, no matter who you're playing. So I think that's one of the major positives that I take away from last Saturday. But other than that, I'm so ready to get on to this next football game. I've been ready since 2017 when they beat us up there in D.C. And us down here in this part of the state, I think, are most excited about this football.
Absolutely,
game
this rivalry down here in the bottom part of the state, Bluefield Princeton area means a lot. We want the Mountaineers to win this one, so we got bragging rights on all the VPI fans that are around here. But yeah, first time playing since 2017, and first time coming to Morgantown since 2005. That's hard to believe. Bradley, any final thoughts on Long Island before we get into those Hokies?
I was just going to say what Steven said. It's an achievement to shut anybody out, not let any points. We had a blocked field goal and a return kickoff. I mean, it's two positives that you don't typically see in a game together or all that often. So, but yeah,
that blocked field goal was clutch.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Screw that 3
Just
points.
preserve that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try not to be too pessimistic to open this up, so I'll just say it's great to get a shutout, I guess, and on to Virginia Tech. So that being said, opening thoughts on Virginia Tech. What do you got, Bradley?
So if you guys went through and watched our Maryland preview back a couple weeks ago, I had said that I felt like we were a perfect matchup going into Maryland. I was like, just like they were weak in this area, and this area. That's where we're strong at. Perfect matchup. I feel that same way for Virginia Tech and us. I feel like they're looking at us being like, oh, their line's weak. Well, we got a great defensive line, Where they struggle at is where we succeed at. So, maybe we'll get a little bit of a flip-flop and like shit will just go sideways for them like it did for us. So.
And that's what you hope. I think that for me, the thing that really sticks out to me is the home field advantage. We need this to be big. I think the fans are going to be ready because of rivalry. Hopefully, the players feed off that energy. And even though it's a noon kick, hopefully that stadium is rocking because I think this is one of the biggest games at Mountaineer Field. I'm talking it could have like that 2011 LSU type of energy if the fans show up and do their thing, and that could be big. And West Virginia needs that in this game, in my opinion, because they could be slightly overmatched. That's the way I kind of look at it. Steven, what are your opening thoughts on Virginia Tech?
I feel the same way as you. I feel like this is, the crowd is going to be there for this game. We've heard the rumble throughout both fan bases for the last not only couple months, but for the better part of the last year or so. About fans that have been excited about going to this game. So I do fully expect that Mountaineer Field will be rocking on Saturday come noon. I do think West Virginia's outmatched in terms of the talent on their side of the fence of Virginia Tech, but in the same token, I don't think that we've seen the full variety of what both teams have yet. I think in week one you've seen Virginia Tech play a North Carolina team that was number 10 at the time, but since has struggled with their own schedule.
Overrated.
And then you see Virginia Tech come back to life a little bit, last week struggling a little bit with Middle Tennessee State. West Virginia looks a little bit better against an LIU team that I understand you're supposed to look that way against, but you do. I'm starting to forgive West Virginia a little bit on some of the things that I've seen in week one because it was week one, and you do make your best, you know, advancement as a football team, and you get better from week one to week two. You've
That's
said that in
true.
the past, Cruz, and so while I said that I think Maryland was probably the most pivotal game on our schedule, it's I think quickly flipping to this Virginia Tech game because obviously starting off 2-2 is a lot better than starting off
Yeah.
1-4. And I think that's what you're looking at because I don't think there's anybody that right now that truly is optimistic about that night game out in Norman in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely not.
I'm nervous about that one myself as well. And the thing I think that sticks out to me about this game that just makes me feel like I said I'm turning into the pessimistic one, but like West Virginia's a little overmatched is just going into the season. These teams are kind of flip flopped on how I thought they'd be going into this game. I thought Virginia Tech would lose to North Carolina, maybe even struggle with Middle Tennessee State, and then be coming into Mountaineer Field. And it's been the other way around. West Virginia lost to Maryland, didn't struggle with Long Island, but I thought West Virginia would be kind of better than they're looking, almost like Virginia Tech is better than I thought they would be. I thought Virginia Tech would be the one that would struggle this year, and it seems like those roles are kind of reversed, and this game's going to tell a lot.
Yeah, and I think Neil Brown said it really good in his conference presser yesterday that this is now going to be a real barometer of where our program's at right now. I say this is going to be a true sign, a true telltale scenario where it's like, hey, you got a packed stadium in Milan Puskar Stadium. Like it's going to be packed. The fans are going to be there. People are going to be showing out. It's on the team to show up and like perform the way that they've told us that they are supposed to perform. So I think that this is going to be maybe we'll see a completely different team that we didn't see against Maryland and maybe a little bit cleaner team than what we saw against LIU. But I don't know. I think that's still up in the air for myself. I think this is going to be an ugly game.
Yeah, I think it needs to be an ugly game for West Virginia to have success. Since Neil Brown took over, I saw a stat the other day. West Virginia has only won back-to-back games twice, once in 2019, once in 2020. So this could be the one time in 2021, and West Virginia's never won 3 games in a row under Neil Brown yet. So that's a stat to look at going into this one, I suppose.
Yeah. Honestly, I want them to get into a fight. I want to see somebody just punch somebody in the face and just get because it's just I at this point like I feel like there's just like no excitement right now. Like I mean the fans are excited, the people are going to be pumped up, but I feel like we've just been super bland going out there so far on the field, and so I just want to see some kind of like passion, excitement, anger, something that's going to like make me believe that these guys care about this game as much as the fans do because like that's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I wouldn't say that they don't care about the fans or about the game as much as the fans, but I don't think that they care about the rivalry as much as the fans. I don't think that the Virginia Tech West Virginia rivalry
They're trying to learn about it.
um, is quite right. Right, like these players weren't. I think there's only a handful of guys, if only just a couple of them, that were on the roster at WVU and just as walk-ons at the time. Whenever they played them in 2017, and probably likewise at Tech. So there's guys that if they do know about the rivalry, you know, it's not people who are on the too deep on our depth chart. It's guys that have grown up Mountaineer fans and probably are on the roster because they are lifelong fans. And so like the guys that are probably going to be seeing the majority of the time on the field that were the high recruits are just now learning about this rivalry and the bulk of it. And Neil Brown himself is just now learning about the rivalry and the bulk of it. So I think we do care about the rivalry part of it more, but I think that they do care about the actual game because I listened to Sean Ryan just for example. I listened to his player interview yesterday, and he was saying that he didn't really understand the rivalry that much until he himself was or I think it was Sean Ryan. I think whenever he was a walk on in 27, was he a walk on in 2017?
No, no, Sean Ryan transferred
No,
from
Sean Ryan
Temple.
transferred in.
Listen to a few player interviews yesterday. Yeah, he's from Temple. You're right. I listened to a few player interviews and are running together yesterday. But anyway, one of them was talking about how they were a walk on in 2017 and they really felt the rivalry because of the fan base. That's what I was going to
Yeah,
get
that's
to.
that's where you feel it most. The fan base, it means a lot to them. Like it's said, especially here, the southern part of the state where we are, it definitely means a lot. And I think it goes a long way though that Neal Brown is trying to factor that in, that it means a lot to the fans and trying to teach the team about the rivalry. He said he's got Jeff Castile teaching not only the team but also teaching himself about the rivalry and what it means. And especially, this is a trophy game, trying to bring the Black Diamond Trophy. So I think that's always extra motivation when you're playing for something like that.
Yeah,
And
and
it's a
so that's
beautiful
why I'm saying,
trophy.
like, I feel like it would be nice to see just like, okay, I necessarily don't want to fight. I'd be happy with a fight, but I think it would just be exciting to see something like that passion like transfer from the fans like onto the field.
Absolutely.
Just get these guys really excited and show them, what a rivalry game can be in college football. We don't like them, they don't like us, and like that's absolutely how it is. And like I have no, you know, intentions of ever liking Virginia Tech, and you know, it just gives a little bit more.
Exactly, and I'm anxious to see it getting kicked back up again. And hopefully this game continues to be played. I know they're playing again next year, but hopefully they find a way to fit it in on the schedule again in the future because it does mean a lot, and it's one of the best, always one of the better games too. Usually, there's not too many blowouts in these Virginia Tech games, no matter how good or bad either one of the teams are. It's rare that that happens, but West Virginia, we were saying that they've been kind of bland, so hopefully they have some things up their sleeve. But one thing we do know that they do have coming back is Mike O'Laughlin. He's been practicing, hopefully going to finally get some snaps in this game. So West Virginia getting their tight end back. Virginia Tech losing their star tight end, James Mitchell. Fuente announced in his press conference out for the season. The star tight end for Virginia Tech. I believe he led them in touchdown receptions last season and already had looked good this year and was a big part of that offense. So what can you factor in from both these tight ends, the one that Virginia Tech loses and West Virginia getting Mike O'Laughlin back? How big of a add is this for West Virginia, and how big of a loss is that for Virginia Tech, Stephen?
First of all, huge for Virginia Tech, and you never want to wish an injury on anybody. I feel very, very bad for the guy because, um, from what I understand, that guy was a very, very highly projected pick in the
Mhm.
NFL draft last season, and he came back and was trying to go one more season at Virginia Tech, and to see that kind of an injury, you hate to see that. So. Yeah, on that side of the fence, very huge loss for Virginia Tech. He was their biggest playmaker on that side of the ball by far, in my opinion. Um, on the flip side, for West Virginia, I think it's just as big for us that we get Mike O back this week because Mike O'Laughlin, while he is a good tight end, he's really good in our run game on that right side of the line. And in my opinion, the whole line has had its problems. That's true. But in my opinion, from what I can tell, the left side of the line has held their own more than the right side of the line. And if we can get Mike O'Laughlin back on the right side of the line to give us a little bit of the stability on that right side, it may help our run game just enough to give us, a little bit of a push and in the run game, so that way it opens up the pass game a little bit more. Because up to this point, our run game has been almost non-existent. I mean, it's almost to that point because I don't think we've gotten over 100 yards. You know, I don't know. I really can't figure it out because I'm probably like you guys in the fact that I really just did not expect our run game to be so atrocious. I truly believe that our run game was going to be one of the best in the country. You guys heard it. I picked Let It Go for 2,000 yards in a
Mhm.
pregame show, and
Not
I
gonna
just I
happen. Not gonna
can't.
happen. Getting 31 yards
Not
against a
gonna
ranked team.
happen.
Be
Not
happy
gonna
with a
happen.
thousand at this point.
But I do think Michael Laughlin will help us open up some of those schemes that we've been trying to run because up to this point, I think we've just been so limited, and I think you've touched on it in the past. I think most of it is due to chemistry. I think once we can find a little bit of chemistry on that offensive line between those guys, it will probably get better. But right now, there's a lot of questions and not enough answers.
Oh, that's for sure. That is for sure when it comes to that run blocking and how abysmal it looked. I think they ended up averaging like 3 yards a carry versus Long Island. Not good, not good at all. And that's when I think maybe this Garrett Green package, could play a part in that. And another reason Neil Brown may have to go to that. But also, I want to see Garrett Green play with Letty Brown. Every time we've seen him, it was with Justin Johnson. So I think I want to see him and Letty, play together. That could be good. But like you said, I think getting Mike O'Loughlin's back. getting Michael Laughlin back is big. Rather, use him in the run game in a lot of different ways. They'll bring him in motion, they'll put him in the backfield, almost like a fullback, H back type position. And so there's a lot of different things West Virginia can do in the run game because West Virginia's shown they can't run out of that 10 personnel with 0 tight ends. They just don't have the offensive line to do it. And Banks isn't as great of a blocker as Mike O is. So getting him back is big. And then I think losing Mitchell for Virginia Tech hurts. I think it hurts more in the passing game because I think they still have tight ends. They can still run their sets that they like to use, their 12 personnel sets with Burmeister running that read, through the jet sweep and through the backfield that he runs those different types of read options where they change up the guy that they're reading. And I think that they can still do that. They have 4 or 5 tight ends they like to use. So Virginia Tech will still have a tight end in there, but it is a big loss. And I hate it for the kid, like you said, could have went to the draft, came back for this year. So hate it for him, but I think both things are big, big for West Virginia and big for Virginia Tech. Anything you want to add there, Bradley?
Yeah, I think you guys covered that pretty well. I do feel bad for the God, what was his name?
James Mitchell. Yeah.
Was it Mitchell? James
It's
Mitchell. Yeah,
Trey. What is his last name?
yeah. I feel bad for James Mitchell being out. Like Steven said, he came back, didn't have to come back, came back. That's brutal. I hope he has a quick recovery. I hope he comes back to full speed because that's as being sports fans, we all want to see the best athletes can give, honestly. And yeah, Miko, I think we're going to definitely see an improvement in our run game this weekend. Hopefully, I'll say because that Virginia Tech line is going to be something that we're going to have to deal with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we get into the matchups here and get into it a little bit further, did a couple pieces of WVU news I wanted to touch on. The depth chart that came out this week, not any real big changes on it, but one thing that did stick out was that Will linebacker Lance Dixon has jumped Exeter Low now, starting the transfer from Penn State, Lance Dixon. And then also Jalen Anderson, the running back, the other 4-star, has finally made it to campus, enrolled at WVU now, likely headed for a red shirt, of course, but he is here. He's on the roster. He's with the team. So 2 pieces of news there I want to touch on before we get into Virginia Tech. Any thoughts there, Stephen?
Jalen Anderson. I did not see that we were gonna see him on WVU's campus at all. So very, very big. I think we've touched on that in the past as well. So I'm just really excited about that one.
Absolutely, I am too. I think that that's big. Bradley, go right ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with Lance Dixon. I thought he played really well. I thought he was playing with some speed. He had some tenacity to him. He was definitely playing well on kickoffs. But something I saw is that Evan Staley's not even listed on our depth chart anymore, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, McGee, I understand the McGee on the kickoffs. When he got in there, he looked better. He was actually booting him out of the end zone. So I wouldn't, I was like, man, they might switch Staley out here too. And so I guess, it's. I think after that injury, he
Yeah,
wasn't
but
the
I mean,
same.
to take him off the depth chart,
Yeah, I think he
that's
just
true.
doesn't have the
Yeah,
power.
I will say, Bradley, you called that one. I think as soon as that injury happened, you called how
Yeah.
that one was going to end up. Now
Oh yeah,
I hate that.
that's
For
exactly
him,
how I blew out my
hate
knee,
it.
and I mean it was a lot of damage. That little small stop and twist. I mean it does a lot more than you think it does. Because I mean I had to have mine completely reconstructed. I would say it was.
It's a wonder how that
Yeah.
doesn't happen to a lot more
Yeah.
kickers in the game. Because if you think about it, the way they stop and plant their knee, man, it's just I don't know, kind of mind blowing when you think about it.
And I think that him and Dante may have been the only 2 people in my mind that probably played in that last Virginia Tech game. I think Evan Staley was still on the team then
I think
because
so.
he's in his 5th year in our program. I think. I don't know if Dante was a true freshman or maybe just coming out of high school. I don't remember.
I can't remember either. I think he
2017.
came
He's a
in
junior He's a junior this year, so
2018.
no, he
Yeah,
would have came
yeah,
in 18.
2018. So yeah, Staley,
Yeah.
I do believe was there though. I think that's one of the only ones. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy to think about that
that's
it
what I
was
said.
that
And
long
first
ago.
time that they've played him out near field since '05. That's what's crazy. Like when I heard that, I was like, really? I was like, that's 16 years. Like I can't believe it. But I'm glad to have it back. And
Uh, it's not crazy to me because I have been literally counting
oh, I'm
down the
sure. I'm
days
sure.
since I was at the stadium
We
for that
owe
one.
him.
You
We
guys
owe
don't
him.
understand. If there's one game that I hated being at Mountaineer Field for, other than the 2007 Pitt game, it was that game in '05. It was. Don't get me wrong. I love being at Mountaineer Field, but that game just had such a gloomy feeling, and I think this is the reason. I don't mean to get off on a tangent here, but I think this is the reason why I'm so adamant about West Virginia I think, in my opinion, would have won a national championship in that year if they would have won that game. And I've always said that. I've always said that I think they had more of a chance that year than in 2007, whether people want to say that or not, because it was one loss versus two losses. But that game with Virginia Tech playing the way they did and Marcus Vick flipping the crowd off, and there was a lot of accumulating factors that made me hate Virginia Tech that much more. And I've said it before. I root for Virginia Tech sometimes whenever the West Virginia isn't playing them because I have family ties towards that university as well. But I have never had a school that I root for sometimes that I despise so much when West Virginia does play them. And so I've been counting down the days since 2005. I'll
Yeah,
tell you
I
that
want to
much.
beat them bad. I remember 2017 after the game, they tweeted out "Take me home" with the Black Diamond Trophy, and their fans mockingly singing "Country Roads" after that win and everything. And I've wanted to play them bad since then. And I thought we were going to be in a better place this year, and I was really confident about it in the offseason. After these first two games, not as confident, but I still think West Virginia could get it done. They have the ability to. It just depends on if they show up or not. But I think Virginia Tech's won the last three, so we definitely owe them. Uh, any thoughts there, Bradley?
Yeah, West Virginia hasn't won since that
20,
2003 28 to
when
7
they were
beat
ranked
down in
third.
Morgantown.
Yeah,
So, yeah, West Virginia wasn't expected to win that
exactly.
game either. And that's the thing about this rivalry. Bradley, I'll let you go in a second if you got something to say, buddy. But I just wanted to say that's the thing about this rivalry to me. And a lot of rivalries, it's like this. I get that. But the team, most often than not, the team that isn't supposed to win the game shows up and makes it a football game to the point to where it's a close football, game in the fourth quarter and gives you that much more of a chance to win the football game. That's a lot of the reason that it was a close game in 2017. 2005 was a little bit different because I feel like, Marcus Vick and that team were picked to win that game coming into Morgantown. But 2004, West Virginia with Rasheed Marshall and Jamal Adile on defense and all those guys, they were supposed to roll into Blacksburg and smack those guys in the mouth, especially the way they played them in 2003 in Morgantown. And so,
yeah,
I don't know. I think that West Virginia, just given that aspect of things, I think West Virginia might come in and make it a ball game, just with the rivalry aspect of it. I just feel like that's the way this rivalry is. It's just like Pitt. The team that's not supposed to win usually shows up and makes it a football game.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to make it super
Absolutely.
exciting. I'm saying I remember that 2017 game, and I was so excited. I really thought Willie G was going to come in there and slap them around, and it was just going to be an absolute dogging. And it didn't happen. I remember I was just so mad, just sitting there staring at the TV and just like all this shit's just pissing me off. And I had some family members in the back, not even Virginia Tech fans, but just talking, and it's just like, shut up, I can't deal with this right now. Like I need to just everybody get away from me. I'm too mad. Like it's just like one of those type of games, which is why I'm saying like I want somebody to just come out and punch somebody in the mouth, just because that's just how I feel about it. I just feel that salty about 2017, and it's just I just want.
That's also one of those games of what if, because that last drop by Willie G, man,
They had
that was
the touchdown in the end zone and went right through Sill's arms.
Had it.
Yep.
Had it.
That was the difference.
Crushing.
Had they have built a little bit of chemistry going into that game,
story.
You never know what would happen. That was their first game playing
the
truly
first half,
together,
it was
I believe.
like they weren't clicking, and in the second half, it was like bam, it clicked, and then you were like, oh, okay, but it just took too long for them to get gelling, like you said, because it was all their first games together. Jennings, Sills, Greer.
Yeah, well, nobody expected Tech to be what they were either.
Yeah, I think I made a meme back then that it was like when WV used best wide receiver as a quarterback.
That was, yeah.
I think it was
Sills was a monster that season.
Yeah, I remember seeing him in the Cactus Bowl whenever they threw that pass to him, and he goes up and makes that jump ball catch. I was like, we might have something here, man. Like, this guy's pretty tall and lanky, got hands.
Can catch the ball.
I think he's still with the Giants on their practice squad in the NFL, so he's still got a shot.
Yeah, a lot of these guys in the league right now on those practice squads, it really surprises me. You'd think that with some of the talent, they would be making the regular roster.
It's tough. It's tough.
NFL,
yeah, you only get like
I say it's the NFL.
You only get like 50 some, and every player on every team was a college star, so it's tough.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But let's get into
yeah. People don't,
the matchups here with Virginia Tech. You was gonna add something there, Steven?
Oh no, I was just gonna get off on another tangent. I'm glad you cut me off, honestly.
No worries, no worries,
Yeah, shut up,
no
Steven.
worries. I was
It's all
like,
fun. Going down memory
I got to
lane
get a
too damn
new
much.
router for my house. So sometimes we're dealing with a slight lag issue. So sometimes if we cut each other off, that's probably what it is. But we should have that fixed hopefully by next episode. I got a new router coming in, so get that taken care of. But for the time being, let's get into the matchups with Virginia Tech. Let's start off with talking about the Virginia Tech offense going up against the West Virginia defense. Stephen, I'll let you kick it off there with your thoughts on that matchup there.
It's really intriguing for me because as we've talked about, our offensive line has struggled up to this point, and their defensive line has not, to say the least. Their defensive line has been pretty dominant. So I think West Virginia is going to have um, they're going to have to establish their run game for one, and I think that's why Mike O'Laughlin has to come in and set the tempo on his side of the line and get that thing going so that we can open the passing game up. Excuse me. Because if West Virginia becomes one dimensional, that's not good for our offense. Because I think our defense is going to keep us in the football game for the most part, but our offense has to score points. That's just the way it is. We've got to score points when we're a lot of the opportunity. We did that last week against LIU, but it's a whole different animal to do it against Virginia Tech this week. Um, and one thing I really will say and touch on against LIU last week was I think they scored on every single
Yep.
possession that we had last
The
week.
punter
Am I
didn't touch
wrong
the
about
field.
that?
No, we didn't.
Right. I knew we didn't punt the ball, but I thought I was right about that. We didn't go a single possession without not scoring the football. Scoring the football. So we need to do a lot of that this week. We need to use that as motivation to get our offense going this week. And I think if we can, like I said, if we can get our run game going, I think that'll really help guys like Winston Wright and Bryce Ford Wheaton get open. And one thing I really think is going to be a big factor this week is the big playability. I think that whoever has the most big plays this weekend wins the football game.
No, that's I agree with you 100%. And the one thing I'll add, West Virginia's offense. I think the offensive line against Maryland we kind of thought looked suspect. Was like, well, maybe if they come out and bully Long Island, we'll see. Didn't impress against Long Island, so for now I'm extremely worried about that, especially with Virginia Tech's stout defensive line. Virginia Tech shut down corner and Waller, great safety in Connor. So I'm very not optimistic about this game, but I think the one thing the offense can do is take care of the football, have no turnovers first and foremost, try and play mistake-free football, and control the ball as much as you can. I think that's your best bet. Like Bradley said, try and make it ugly. Do what you got to do. If you're getting 2, 3 yards of play, but you're getting first downs, then that's all you got to do. And then, like Steven said, if you can hit a big one every now and then that would be huge because like big plays are gonna be the difference. But I think turnovers for me is the main difference. I think we looked terrible against Maryland, but without 4 turnovers, we may win that game. So I think if we don't turn the ball over, we have a great chance because I'm thinking the home field advantage is going to factor in a lot. Bradley, what about you?
So our offense into their defense, I think this is actually going to be the matchup of the game. I think our defense is going to hold their own when we get to that point. I'll talk more about it. But I think that this right here is going to be the tell of the tape for our game. And I think that's really deep. Virginia Tech's got a really stout defensive line. Their corners are elite. I mean, they've really got a lot of talent like flying around in that side of the field. And so I think that Neal Brown's going to have to get creative, and I don't think he's going to be able to go in there and be vanilla like he is sometimes and come out with a W. If he wants to win this game, he's going to have to go win it. He's not going to sit back and have a W fall into his lap. That's just not going to happen in this game. And so I think that I would like to see a lot of I would like to see a couple more of these
Hmm.
Winston Wright, Old Tavon dump passes. I think we need to really hit those edges since our line obviously can't cover the middle and they're getting put in laps. Let Winston Wright try to break one to the outside, and after you fake that, run that a couple times or fake it a couple times, and you let Letty Brown hit it up the middle a little bit, really spread the defense out. So I think you start running the edges, they're going to start spreading their defensive line out. When you start doing that, you can start hitting those gaps in the middle, and then maybe you can get some semblance of a run game going. Um, uh, again, it's going to, like you guys, Steven said, it's going to come down to big playability. And I think that our big playmakers are Winston Wright and Letty Brown, and it's going to be up to Jarrett Dagey to kind of put that ball in those guys' hands when we need the ball in their hands. And so I think it's going to come back to that quarterback spot. And I think that's what really everybody at this game's going to be watching is how does Jarrett Dagey handle himself, or does Garrett Green get put in? And my opinion on that is I think that if Virginia Tech comes out and they score twice in the first couple of drives, and it seems like our offense isn't just getting going, I would say by the third possession, we'll definitely see Garrett Green come out and get a chance at just running a drive. If it's not that, then I just see him getting thrown in a couple of plays every now and then, and probably not much more other than that. But yeah, I think that our offense versus their defense is definitely going to be the game to watch. And if we get our offense rolling and you see us scoring, then I think we got a good shot. Things get ugly. People are missing assignments. People are getting frustrated. I think we got a better shot that way. But if you see Virginia Tech's defense come out and handle us and their offense starts to get a couple points up on us, then I think we're going to have a real tough day trying to climb
Yeah,
back
I'm
in.
glad you mentioned that because you touched on two things that I wanted to mention as well. Besides, turnovers being my main key, I think that if you want West Virginia's offense to, look different than it has, you have to do some different things. So, like you said, Neil Brown pulled some tricks out of his sleeve, and the two things that you mentioned that I think are big in this game. That I think if at the end of the day we're saying West Virginia's offense looked a lot better, I think these two things will have happened. We'll have got the ball to Winston Wright more in space, whether it's screens, jet sweeps, whatever, let him get some more touches. And I think the Garrett Green package is involved and provides a spark. I think those two things will have happened if West Virginia's offense has a good day.
Yeah, I agree with the Garrett Green thing. I think you'll see him in there. I don't think it'll so much be as Jared Dickey starts the game, and if he starts doing bad, then they'll
Right.
put Garrett Green in
I
there.
think
I
it's going to be
think that
packages.
it'll be right. It'll be Jared Dickey starts the game, and then we see something in the defense. We're going to see if Garrett Green can run this play because last week, and I think the coaches talked about it a lot. How and Neal Brown especially did not, he didn't seem mad about the Garrett Green situations when he was asked about him. It was more like, he did a great job, but it was because of his improvisation when he was on there, in there on the football field. Because I don't think it was like something like 80 to 90% of the plays that he was given, he did not run, and he improvised and did his own thing. But I think that, this week the coaches will sit down, they'll go through that with him on film. They'll see, what did you see here and why did you run this? And then he'll be able to understand what he's seeing in the defense a little bit more, and he's going to be able to understand the offense in turn a little bit more, because that's how you start to learn a little bit more about your offense and yourself and the way you play the game. And so I think that this week Garrett Green's going to get better in the way that he runs the offense once he's in the game, and I think that that's going to throw a little bit of things at Virginia Tech that I don't think that they've seen up to this point, and I think that may confuse them. So there's a couple positives that I think West Virginia can go into this weekend with, and they're not very big positives, but I think they could be. One is Mike O'Laughlin. You don't have tape on him coming into this game with this specific offense. You do from last year, I know that, but you don't have tape on Mike O'Laughlin, so you don't really know how their run schemes work on that side of the line, or how they want to shift and work those line. You know what I mean? Those offensive line guys in and out whenever they've got him in the game. Two, you got tape with Garrett Green last week in LIU, but you don't really have the full impact of what he could bring to the game. Because all we really seen last week was Garrett Green running the ball. We seen him throw it a little bit, but in all honesty, his throwing ability didn't impress me at all last week, and that was the main reason that I still said that I think that Jared Deku should be the starter right now. But like you guys, I love what I think that we can do with some of these RPO plays, and I love what we can do with mixing Garrett Green in there with, because it really brings a dynamic to this offense that we haven't truly seen since, dare I say,
Yeah.
the Pat White
And I
era.
think
Not truly
Yeah,
to
well,
that
and I
effect,
think
but
when you bring Garrett Green in, it also is like an energy. It's a different energy level. Like you'll feel it in the stadium. It'll be palatable. And I think for a game like
mm,
this, that could really get the crowd into it even more because he's fun to watch. He has that juice factor about him. It's just more entertaining.
Yeah, which
yeah,
and
that
you guys have heard me talk about it a lot. The one thing I felt like Jared Daggy's always been missing is that it factor. Like the dude can go in and play pretty solid game manager, but I'll keep harping on it until the shit changes. Is just like to be a great elite quarterback that wins your team to games that you shouldn't win, winning games that you shouldn't win. You got to have an it factor. You got to have a little bit of spunk. You have a little bit of machismo. You got to have something like some kind of like something a little extra, and you need a bit of a spark. And I've just never seen it out of Diggy. He's the guy that makes a good read, throws the ball, where it needs to be, and if his receivers make a play, they make a play. If not, it's not always the best. But where you got Garrett Green in there, I mean, the guy's. It's one thing Neal Brown said is he said he gets excited. He gets out there, he makes a play, he gets excited about it, and that
Yep.
shit's infectious. I mean, you get out there, you make a good play, and you get excited. Your team's going to get excited around you, and like that's what like I noticed from Garrett Green is just like that's what I want to see. And Steven talking about how they're going to go through and look at his tape and like, hey, like these are the things you've seen, what you could have done. I think that's what's made me more frustrated is like you've been refusing to give the kid a chance because he's young and he's inexperienced, and obviously he hasn't been showing up in practice as well, or as he would have got the play now. But like I think that he's a guy that's really gonna grow exponentially as he gets more in-game
Experience.
playing time, because I think that's just how he thrives. I think he runs off of that high that you get of adrenaline of being in the game in the time, because there's some guys that they'll tell you they don't practice as well as they play in games. So that's not ideal. You really don't want that. But if he can go out there and he can just learn a lot more on the fly and just be able to grow faster that way, it makes it a lot more frustrating that he hasn't gotten a chance to touch the ball a little bit more than what he has so far. So yeah, I definitely see him coming in. If it's what you guys are saying and you don't think he's going to get his own drive, it's not going to be Jared Dagey struggling, so we're going to put in Garrett Green. Then I definitely see Garrett Green getting snaps in the first possession, or like not first possession, but the first drive or two. I definitely see him getting his own plays then if that's the way it's going to be. Which, like I said, I want more Garrett Green. I want like 60-40.
Yeah, I just don't see them putting him in as a full time starter yet, and I don't think that you'll see
No, for
that
sure not.
unless that we get throughout down the season and he shows a progression rate that is just out of this world, which could happen. That we've seen crazier things. It's all about how he progresses in the next few weeks, in my opinion, and I think that only happens, mixing him in there at the right times, like you guys say. You know, I really do think the sky's the limit for that kid, but I just don't think that he has. I don't know how to say this without sounding offensive. I don't think he has enough
Yeah.
football knowledge, because he hasn't been playing football that long. I don't think he has enough football knowledge to be able to progress to jump right into a starting role right now.
Yeah, no, I don't think he
The
should come
kid
out
has
start for
talent,
sure.
but
No, I
yeah,
agree.
But I was just
but I
thinking, like, if they're just wanting to work him in and like packages, let him run a couple plays each possession, and like that's what they're going to do. But in my mind, I just see Jarrett Dagey coming out and running full, being the only quarterback to touch the ball in the first two drives, and I could just see if he's stalling out, then I think I could see Garrett Green coming in and having like a full, you know. Because Neal Brown said, you got to be able to tell them when they're going into the game. You want to go into or from Neal Brown's perspective, he said he wants Garrett Green to know exactly when he's going into the game and exactly what his game plan is going to be. So to me, that sounds like if I'm going to put you in there, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 scripted plays. We're going to run with it and see what happens more than, okay, we're now down in this 3rd and 2 situation or like 2-and-5 situation, where we got an easier chance to put you in there and let you run it. I think Neal Brown wants less of that because then I feel like that puts more of a chance with just like him trying to like make a play instead of going with just like a scripted plays. But that's just it might not even be what happens, but that's just what I see happening in my mind.
Yeah, I think I'd be shocked if we don't see him on the field, in some capacity at least for sure. And the offense needs that. The offense needs some kind of spark. So I think, do anything you can to get that. You got Mike O'Laughlin coming back, and hopefully have some things up your sleeve because I think you're going to need it against this talented Virginia Tech defense. That's probably I'd say the best defensive line West Virginia has faced yet, and they haven't looked good against the ones they face. So that's something to look out for there. If West Virginia's offensive line can finally turn things around, this is going to be a tough opponent to be able to do that against. So, that we gave you some reasons for hope, but maybe that's a reason for concern there. But flipping it over on the other side, the Virginia Tech offense versus the West Virginia defense. Virginia Tech offense led by Braxton Burtmeister. I think the best quarterback they've had since Fuente took over as coach. When was it? 2015, 2016. Fits their system better, I think, than the system that Fuente wants to run. He fits it really well. He's a great running threat. They're running the ball 66% of the time. 3 good running backs, Blackshear, Holston, and King. King and Holston, I believe, are back on kick returns as well. Two big play receivers. Trey Turner's one that they go deep to a lot, and then they have Tavion Robinson, who also has speed and is a great punt returner for them, averaging I think 30 yards per return. And like I said, a slew of tight ends they use in that run game with Burmeister and those backs, going up against the West Virginia defense that's been pretty stout against the run for the most part this season, I think, and I think it's showing signs of improvement and continuing to get better. And the defensive line being the strength of the West Virginia defense. But what are your all's thoughts on this matchup? Bradley, we'll let you kick this one off first.
Yeah, so if you've watched any bit of Mountaineer football for any length of time, you know if there's one thing that you really hate to see is a mobile quarterback. I don't know why it always just seems that we struggle with that shit. We just can't seem to get a lock on them. We get good pressure, then they break out the pocket. We've got nobody on them, and it's just they really just make plays and they make games that way. And so Burmeister's definitely going to do that. That's not just a quarterback that's going to get out there and get a couple of yards. It's what Neal Brown said is he can run away from you. He's not a guy that's just going to, pick up 6 or 7. You let him break one loose, he's going to break one loose on you. And so, that's pretty worrisome, which is also why I think that we're seeing Lance Dixon maybe start this weekend because that kid's got some speed. I mean, he's got some gusto to him. So you might see him sitting back there watching the quarterback a little bit more often and, trying to help stop that run game a little bit. Other than that, actually, I think, like I said, I think our defense is going to do well. I think our defense has looked good. I mean, and they've looked good for a couple of years now, and so I think that we're gonna have a good chance to kind of like keep Virginia Tech really, really bogged down unless Burmeister just gets out there and makes us pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a good matchup. West Virginia has a chance with, I think with West Virginia's what they've lost has been in the secondary mainly. The defensive line is kind of their strength. So I think you'd maybe more nervous right now against the passing offense. We saw that against Maryland, where they kind of struggle with that, where they're still young and developing. But yeah, going
Very
against a
suspect.
strong, heavy rushing offense like this Virginia Tech offense. Fuente loves to run. They've been over 60% rush in the past like 4 years. This year's been their highest at 66. I think that that's kind of playing to West Virginia's strength a little bit, maybe. But there's a lot of ways that they do it that mix things up and everything. That there's reason they're successful with it. So it's going to be a fun matchup to watch, don't you think, Stephen?
Oh, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that, Justin Fuente is a very heavy run style type of head coach, and he loves to run the ball. And that's why, I think that Braxton Burmeister fits their system very well because he is a running style quarterback. West Virginia has struggled with running style quarterbacks in the past, but I do think that they did a pretty good job of holding
With his
Talia,
feet, yeah.
within his own rights in week one up there in College Park. So I don't expect West Virginia's defense to let Burmeister have a field day with him. I should say that he may break a couple and he may make some big plays because I fully expect Virginia Tech to make some big plays on Saturday as well as West Virginia to make some big plays. Like I said, I think it comes down to whoever makes the most of them. But I think that Sean Martin has potential to have his true coming out party, I should say. Because if it's any game that he's going to show up in, why wouldn't it be
Yeah.
this game?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is the rivalry for him to show up in, and so I'm so excited for Sean Martin this weekend. I've talked about him a bunch this on our shows this season, guys, but I truly I feel like this week is going to be the week that he comes out and shows what he's about because of the what this game means to this part of the state, and probably a lot of the people around him have been in his ear talking to him about it. So I expect him to have a game, but in the secondary, I think what's going to happen is we're going to get too caught up in the run game, and then they're going to go over
Trey
top. I
Turner.
think that's what's going to be a lot of their big plays because
Trey Turner's gonna put this after Bowman.
our secondary's been caught napping a couple times in week one, and that was really the true test that we've only had up to this point. So I think that Virginia Tech's going to throw a little bit of that at us, but I do think with our defensive line is going to be the true thing that holds West Virginia in the football game as we fully expect it to. I mean that's what they do.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
It's also what kept us
I
in the
really
game against
think.
Maryland.
Hmm.
It really did. Our defense kept
Oh
us in the
yeah,
game.
yeah. That's the reason that we had opportunities to still win that football game as bad as we played was because of our defensive line. It wasn't because of the entire defense because our secondary was still atrocious in my opinion. Sean Mahone got burnt
Oh yeah.
on that one play to Raheem Jarrett, but our defensive line definitely held their own, and we've got depth at with those guys and size. And oh my gosh, if we can fill out an entire defense with that kind of talent, oh my gosh, the sky's the limit, man. If Tyke would have stayed,
Yeah. Yeah.
what could
I
have
mean, no,
been?
Drashun, I'm sure is wishing he stayed right now too. Not even hardly seeing any playing time over there at Auburn, but that's neither here nor there. But I did want to throw this stat at you guys, just to show how much of a strength on strength matchup this is with the Hokies rush offense versus the West Virginia rush defense. Since Fuente's been at Virginia Tech, 14 times they ran over 250 yards. Since Neal Brown's been at West Virginia's never given up over 250 yards rushing.
Mm. And they didn't give up a rushing
Yeah.
touchdown last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
Actually, did they give up a rushing touchdown in week
No,
one?
they haven't given up any. Yeah, but I think on the road they still haven't given up any at homes. In the past 2 seasons.
Still, man,
Yeah, because I think Maryland ran one in.
Yeah. I was
Just
saying
hold
that's yeah.
But any
I can't
any
do
other
it.
thoughts, gentlemen?
we won't
Any
count
other
it.
thoughts, gentlemen, on the matchups, whether it be our offense versus their defense, or vice versa, before we get into these keys of victory?
Yeah, I got one more thing. Talk about like what Steven was talking about with our backfield looking suspect. A big reason why we look suspect against Maryland was because of just communication issues. And if that shit that's not fixed from week 1 to week 3, then we've got some serious issues back there. Not just with our players, but like with coaching. Something's going on back there if you can't clean up the communication errors. Because I mean, a lot of the touchdowns that Maryland got was just from absolute
Hmm.
blown communication, people not being where they're supposed to be. And so, like, if that's still an issue and you don't got people in the right spots and they just don't know what they're doing, then that's a serious issue.
No, I agree. I agree. I think so too. Hopefully, this game's going to tell a lot because we, like I said, last game really didn't show us much one way or the other against that team, especially passing defense wise. So this game's going to tell a lot when Virginia Tech lulls you to sleep and then tries to take a deep shot or something. So it's going to tell you a lot. That being said, let's get into keys to victory for this rivalry matchup for the Black Diamond Trophy on Saturday. Key to victory, Stephen. What do you got this week?
I think the game is going to be back and forth a lot. I think, like I said before, I think the big playability is going to play a big factor. I think whoever has the most big plays probably wins the football game on Saturday.
I like it. I'm going to follow you up because I mentioned mine briefly earlier too. I think it's win the turnover battle. You win the turnover battle, you really increase your chances of winning because the way this offense has struggled, the way the West Virginia's line has the potential to struggle against this Virginia Tech defensive line, you might not get too many chances to score, so you got to capitalize on those opportunities when you do have them and don't turn the football over. And in turn, maybe force some turnovers would be big. West Virginia hasn't really done that too much this season, and I think this would be a great game to maybe force Virginia Tech into 2 turnovers. You have zero. That really would feel a lot stronger about West Virginia's chances than I do right now if they could win that turnover battle. So that's my key to victory. Bradley, what about you?
Mine's gonna, and I know I've done this quite a few times now. It's gonna be Neal Brown. It's gonna come on that guy. Like I said, I want to see the fact that he's not gonna try to let this W fall into his lap. He's got to go out there and earn this W. I mean, it's we've said it plenty of times. This is the biggest game of Neal Brown's
Absolutely.
career so far at WVU. And
No, by
it's
far.
it's absolutely crucial that you come out and not only perform well, but come out and win this game. I think it's almost like a must win for him to have like a reputable season where people are just not on his ass every single game for the rest of the year. And so I want to see Neil Brown go out there and fight for this W and really push the limits. And when he comes off that field, win or loss, I want to make sure that I feel that we gave it all we had, and it wasn't, it was just by design, not by design necessarily, but but just a better team won. We didn't beat ourselves. We went out there and gave it our best and went for that W and didn't throw it away like we did with Maryland.
I will say I have a full 1,000% confidence that West Virginia is not going to come out and just roll over. I fully expect West Virginia to come out jacked up and ready to play this game because, like I said, I know that they don't care about the rivalry aspect of it as much as we do, and they I could be wrong about that. There might be a large portion of them that do, just being able to play for
Right.
a trophy and everything. But I do think for how important this game is just at this point in the season, and how pivotal goodness, I can't talk. How pivotal this this game has
Oh
the
yeah,
potential to be.
huge.
They're not going to
We've
get
got a
much
bunch of
bigger
recruits
games
there.
than this.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of recruits there this weekend. I mean, it's like not just big for like this year, but it's big for the future of our
Yeah,
program.
in a lot of different
Oh
ways.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
huge. Like you said,
yeah. Because you got Oklahoma next week. I don't want to say must win.
yeah,
Damn
this is as
near
close
though.
to as must win as you can get, I think. And like Bradley said, we've said it several times, I think, but this is the biggest game of the Neal Brown era by far to this point, and so that would make it the biggest game in West Virginia football since 2018. That Oklahoma game in 2018. So this is huge, huge implications, and we're gonna give you our predictions on it, our score predictions here coming up. Before we get into that, I did want to take some time to let you guys know that. We will be live streaming reaction shows this year. We've done it for the first two games. We're going to do it again after this Virginia Tech game. That'll be either Saturday evening or Sunday evening. Most likely they've been on Sunday, but we'll let you guys know on our social medias when that's coming up. But you can follow us on those social medias at Twitter at WVU Country Roads. Be live tweeting the game this week. I've been at the first two, hadn't really got to do that, but I'm not going to be in attendance for this one, unfortunately. But that does mean I will have the live tweet feed going there on our Twitter. So like us on Facebook if you don't already. Just search Country Roads Webcast. We'll post the video there. And the video version of this podcast is also available on YouTube, where you should go subscribe to us if you don't want us to continue to try and grow that. And then, like I said, the reactions will be flipped into a podcast if you prefer the audio only. But if you want to check those out live, it's a lot of fun. Get the comments, get to talk back and forth with you guys and get your interactions. Those live stream on Facebook and on our YouTube on Saturday evening or Sunday evenings following the game. Um, that being said, let's get into predictions for this upcoming game. As we said, biggest game of the Neal Brown era. 15th ranked in the nation. Virginia Tech Hokies undefeated coming into Morgantown Saturday at noon on Fox Sports 1. You can find that. And it's a huge one. What do you guys got? Bradley, who's winning this game? What's your score prediction?
I think it's going to be a low scoring game. Two elite defenses, our struggling offense. I'm going to keep it low. I'm going to say 24-21. I think there's going to be a couple big plays in there. Like Steven said, I think each team's going to have some big plays, but there's no chance in hell I'm giving Virginia Tech a win in Morgantown. WVU's taking it at home 24-21.
I like it. I like it.
Before you give your score prediction, you took mine.
You got 24-21 WVU?
I do. Same exact thing. Yeah, I picked West Virginia to win by field goal.
I like it, boys, and I'm
24-21.
loving the optimism. But I guess they're gonna nickname me Debbie Downer this season. I don't know. I haven't predicted too many losses on the podcast over the years. I've always been the confident, optimistic one, but this year's just a little different. I don't know. I'm taking the gold blue glasses off, I guess, trying to avoid heartbreak, maybe trying not to get my hopes up also. But like I said, that offense, I think I said on the last pod, I picked 35-3 against that Long Island team, and that offense showed me a little something. So I've got a little faith. I'm hopeful now, more hopeful than I was, following that game, more hopeful than I was following Maryland. I think I've increased a little bit. I like Michael O'Laughlin coming back. I think West Virginia's got a chance. I think the home field advantage has to be huge. I think West Virginia has to win the turnover battle, but I think on paper Virginia Tech's the better team. So taking the gold and blue glasses off, going with my gut. I like Virginia Tech 24-14. Had to do it. Sorry, boys. Hope y'all don't hate me.
I know it's
Yeah, it
breaking your
hurts.
heart.
It hurts my
Has to.
heart, but I'm going with my head over it, and
I don't
I
even
hope
know
I'm
what to
wrong.
say.
I pray that I'm wrong, but
You shattered my hopes and
you know,
dreams.
but
Yeah. When we come out and win 24-21, we're gonna get you a Dune set,
Hey.
and that's what you're gonna have to wear for the whole entire live
Gladly.
Yeah, if
reaction.
West
after
Virginia
this.
wins, you have to wear Virginia Tech for the rest
I
of the
will
season on the
gladly.
show.
Oh God,
I would
no.
gladly have
wouldn't-
egg on
I
my
wouldn't let you
face, eat
scam
crow
around.
for this one. Whatever. I hope that we win. This game's huge, huge.
Does anyone actually eat crow? You guys know
Not that
that?
I know of, but
Is it like an actual meal for people in
I
some
mean,
parts of the
maybe in the
world?
Probably not.
backwoods.
Crows are
A lot of
scavengers for
like,
the legs.
where did the expression come from? I
Yeah,
wonder.
that's a good question.
That's the
Yeah,
first
I'd
time
have
I've
to
ever
look
heard
that
it.
up. I don't know.
I'm
I like
I'm
to
gonna look
look
it
up
up.
the
See if
origins of things.
people
But
eat crow as a delicacy at some some parts of the world.
hey, it could be good. Probably tastes like chicken. That's what they say about everything, right?
Like, eat crow. Don't mind if I do. It's actually really good.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I had never heard that
Looks
till you just said it. So
like
Yeah, it's basically
couscous.
egg on your face. Same
yeah.
difference. I
Like
mean, yeah, I think it's like the same expression basically, different forms.
Couscous is a
Couscous is
pasta.
like rice,
I thought couscous
rice type
was.
thing.
I thought it was a.
All right,
Oh,
all right.
thinking of something different. Maybe I'm thinking of goose
We're
goose.
getting into
That's a bird,
to
right?
the
A goose.
food and stuff side of things. So I guess we should wrap this thing up before we trail off too far down a rabbit hole because we'll just get going and we won't stop. You know us. Uh, that being said, any final thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah,
rabbit's
I
pretty
like rabbit.
gamey.
Rabbit's great. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Boy, we better not. If this isn't if we get beat by a good bit on Saturday, I'll probably just cry for a few days. So
Yeah, I'm already
it'll be
pessimistic
interesting. I
enough.
can
I'm hoping this
imagine.
game proves me wrong and returns back my optimistic side. So something like that happens. Who knows? Y'all are gonna hear me on the podcast just sound like Eeyore the rest of the season. Steven, any final thoughts?
Yeah,
I with everything in me that I've always been pessimistic. About things whenever they don't look perfect in certain games. But you guys know how I am. I'm more on the side of history, and in this particular series, as I mentioned earlier, the normally the team that's not supposed to show up and win this football game does, and so that's why I really do believe it's going to be a really fun football game to watch. It's like Bradley said earlier, it's going to be a very ugly football game. But from a fan perspective, I think that both fan bases are going to really, really have fun watching this one. I know I'm going to. I'm going to have a blast on Saturday. And like I said, it's a very pivotal matchup in the season right now. You have a potential to have a 1-4 season or a 2-2 season, and I don't mean to already count that Oklahoma game
Yeah, I
as a
mean,
loss, but
well,
I
at
think we
this
can
that's
point,
gonna
I
be a
already
tough
mean,
game.
people kind of
we
expect
can
that.
already assume by this point in the Big 12 era that
Right.
it's an automatic unless West Virginia figures something out and just
That'd be great.
has a they get their playbook like off of Waterboy. That's what could
Yeah,
happen. They could
still the plays.
get their playbook and use their plays from Lincoln
Yep.
Riley. But yeah, no, I'm super excited about
Yep,
Saturday.
me
That's all I
too.
got.
Very excited and hopeful. Like I said before, I'm expecting the worst, but hoping for the best. That's how, I think I said that last episode. I'm continuing with that until I'm proven otherwise. But I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a rocking atmosphere. Can't wait to get this rivalry back. Can't wait to play the Hokies again, and it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be close no matter which way it goes out, and I hope these guys are right, and I hope I'm wrong. And we're very cheery on that live stream reaction that'll be coming to you guys Saturday or Sunday. But either way, got a top 15 team coming to Morgantown and a great opportunity in what will be the biggest game of the Neal Brown era up to this point. So a lot to be excited for, and we'll be here to talk with you guys about it afterwards and on the live stream reaction. And then next week, come back with Oklahoma preview. Subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on any platform you like: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it. You can find us there. Just search Country Roads Webcast. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Cruz, and for my co host, Steven, and our other co host, Bradley. Until next time, let's go, Mountaineers.
If you really wanna know, then come on, let's go. Take a stroll down those